Talofa lava, thank you for choosing One to Warrior. My name is Monty Betham, and with me today is a guy who I think was one of the hardest to ever put on the Warriors jumper. He's an absolute legend. Malo leso fu a whionga, Chief Tony Tuimavave.
Malo lava la whionga lauli. So lava no.
How are you?
Very good, thank you. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
What's keeping you busy, Chief?
Just family and seeing grandchildren grow up, and starting a new life out here now in Pukekohe, and that's quite good, very good.
There's a term in rugby league, and it's when someone plays above their weight, Chief, and this is what you did time and time again in the Warriors jumper.
Tuimavave, great execution. Tuimavave to back himself to the corner. Tuimavave,
too much power there, great try.
Big defence there by Tony Tuimavave.
Punishing snap. Tony Tuimavave grabs a double. Inside Tuimavave. Tuimavave just charges off. Kicking to Tuimavave. Who's got it? He has become a try-scoring freak. Tuimavave, what a try!
Chief, when we see those highlights, mate, you could do it all. What comes to mind when you look back at that?
It's just skills you learn when you're growing up, I suppose, back in the days, and under Mike McLennan, that's one of our great coaches of New Zealand, and just having those skills set when you're young, and playing a couple of different positions back then too was quite good.
Mike McLennan, he was a legend of Man Albert Rugby League, and also a legend that was in there at the Warriors as a coach at the time. Your memories of him, because he was a very, very smart man.
Yes, very technical man in the game, and like I said, Mike was one of the New Zealand's probably best coaches, and I think he had a sting up in St Helens as well, and done really well up there as well for St Helens. But yeah, we really miss him, and God rest his soul.
When we talk about playing above your weight, that's something you always did. And I think you were the first sort of prototype of the New Zealand Warriors in terms of being a little man in the middle of the field. I mean, what did you weigh when you played?
I was playing, my weight was 95.
Are you sure?
Yeah, mate.
Maybe with your shoulder pads?
Well, shoulder pads, and I'd probably gained another 10 kgs, but grew up playing top grade football in a young age, and I was bashed around by a couple of older guys as I grow up, but you get to learn, and following years come around and things change, and you start playing above your weight. And there was another guy, Gilmuster, who was playing in Australia, and he wasn't a big lad too, but he was a very fit and skillful player as well. And that was sort of role model. You just model your game around and say, well, if he can do it, well, you can do it, and myself and Haicho Cassini, like he was another. Haich wasn't a big problem, a solid lad, but he always played above his weight, and it was a good start. Always get us going forward as well, So it was fantastic. Follow Haich when he was in the team when we first started. So that sort of memories back then too. With guys our size, and some of the times, like when we go out and doing promotions, sometimes and you stand amongst the lads who way bigger than yourself, and people are quite surprised by it. But it's when you put on the boots and the jersey, things change, the mindset change, and it's just a matter of going with the plan that the coach had for us to compete against that team and do our best to do it, and to win or lose. But as long as you're giving your 100%, man, that's all that matters, really.
When did you first find out that the Warriors were coming to town and that they could be interested in you, Tony Tuimavave?
I didn't know until '92, and we're going, yeah, mate, it'd be great for us that played our local league here in New Zealand to have a team in it, and for a lot of us to be part of it, and the phone rang, and it was Ian, and this
Robson.
is Ian Robson, and he said he talked to Tony Tupu, so I rang Tony up. I said, mate, did you talk to these guys? I said, what do you think? And Tony goes, no, yeah, they rang me up and we had a talk, and he said, yeah, we'll sign up. I said, okay, mate, we'll both go together, we'll sign up, and it's all history from there.
So you didn't have a manager, you just did it all yourself?
No, we all did it ourselves. I have no manager. I just talk. All I wanted to do was, money wasn't an influence for me as a player. I just loved the game. I loved the camaraderie we had amongst my teammates. I had a lot of great mates. I made
You spent 2 years in Sheffield. You played over in England, Chief, as a professional athlete. But how good was it to come back home, be a hometown boy, playing for your hometown colours?
I thought that was fantastic, having all the opportunity for us, because at the time it was either you go play in England or go to Australia, and it was very tough for us to go to Australia and play to get in any team in Aussie back then. But most of the lads all end up in the UK, and some of the lads in England, some of their Yorkshire language they speak too fast. It's like but us Islanders speaking. But they were lovely people, and made some great friends up there in the UK. But it was. I loved it when I came home and when I made the Warriors, and I'll never forget what we achieved and what we've done for the club and to start it.
What do you remember of going into full-time professional training? Because you've done it previously before, but it wasn't like that. Some of the sessions I heard were pretty hard. Memories of that and some of the players that didn't do too well?
There's no one up. We said we were up One Tree Hill. I think quite a few of us got sick up there. But yeah, it's really tough. But mate, Bobby Lanigan, he's a bag. A lot of the Island lads and some of the big boys.
Yeah.
But I've had time, because some of the training that we did was just so intense that you got to do it, and you got to do it, because it was, especially during our first year, 95 and 96. We were always competing against one another to do well, and then you had the boys in the reserves. Some of them were already good enough to come up and play first grade. So the intense was really, really, really hard, and Bobby just begging, like sometimes we would do the 100-metre runs, and some of the boys, by the time we do the second round, some of the boys are nearly walking. And some of the slang of Bobby will bring out to some of the Island lads. It was quite hilarious, and I won't say them, but it's very funny to hear, and some of the boys will give it back to Leno at the end of it. So it was all a great fun as well at the same time, but we knew what we had to do to perform.
To be part of the first team in the Warriors' history was huge, and you were number 13, and that lives with you forever. That is your legacy. Talk to me about the competition for those spots and to be in that number one team that ran out for the first time at Mount Smart.
That whole month before the game in March, the build-up was so tense, and who was going to be a team wasn't announced until I think it was the last week, and John Money announced the team, and none of us knew who was going to be in the team. We knew a few people that were going to be in the team, and that was of course Dean Bell and a couple of other lads that we knew that John had already on the list. But for some of us that were from here, that played rugby league here, we didn't have a clue what was going to happen, who was going to be in the team and who's not, until the last week we got to training, and Moni called us in and announced the team, and that's when I just couldn't believe my luck, because just what I've achieved through that 5 years leading up to the Warriors. I was captain of the Samoa side that we won a championship back-to-back, and then achieving those, and then achieving my goals with my club of Northcote, winning as a captain as well, and it just, I just couldn't believe my luck right through that period of 93 right through to 95 when the Warriors happened. When that happened, I was so proud for my family. I was just thank God for the opportunity that was given, and made the most of it, and did my best for people that I've known and playing rugby league in Auckland, and how much I know people love the game and around our country. And when I played for the Warriors and when I had the jersey on, those are the sort of people, you were the people that I really represented when I did have the jersey on, was for all of you and your support.
That iconic moment when you walked through the tunnel for the very first time, I mean, after that, everyone wanted to walk through the tunnel, even me watching it as a scholarship player. What do you remember of that, and what do you remember of the game?
It was just amazing that night, Monty, and coming out of the tunnel, and then having the Māori lads doing the haka for us, welcome, and putting the challenge down to the Bronco lads. It was, it was a beautiful occasion to open a game of rugby league in this country. We were training on number 2, and just hearing the fireworks going off at the time, and like we were trying to talk to say this is what's going to happen. Like the Broncos at the time was the team to beat, and then we thought we can roll these guys, and I was probably up to Ledger's chest and maybe trying to tackle that guy. You can see his kneecaps, so you're trying to stop them, and as best as you can. And we gave ourselves a chance to do it, and these are the guys you want to compete against. They were the best in the game, and far as I was concerned, that's what we want to compete against. And I was just so rapt to be amongst it that night. And I ended up getting cramped because we haven't played the game like that. I was getting cramped and I got pulled off, but I didn't want to come off. I wanted to stay on. But I was just disappointed with myself. But it was just unfortunate we just didn't come back with the goal.
So close. Now, that was just the start of a great year for you in the Winfield Cup back then, which is the NRL now. 21 games you played. There was a try there as well. But what do you remember of that year and your first experience at the best of the best in terms of a competition?
Oh, it was just, mate, the travelling, that was one thing that got us. It was great in the first couple of weeks, but then after a while, living out of your bags and the hotels, and you're really then knowing that you're really amongst the best in the world and you're competing against the best. And that was, to me, I was just rapt. I was competing against the best, and my dreams came true of playing against the professional game in rugby league.
When you came into the NRL underneath John Mooney, was there a part of your game that you had to tweak or change a little?
Yeah, we worked on a lot of backing of back rows, running in pairs back then, and I had to work on that. But most of the time, I was the one going and looking for somebody to come on my outside or the inside, and I worked that a lot that with Steve and Tony at the time. I think Mooney got me to work on that, supporting those guys, and vice versa. It wasn't just myself, but then with the other lads, and I think that was something that was drilled in us for the back row, especially when we're doing the hard yards coming out of our own half.
So I came to the club full-time in 1997. There were 3 protected players, and that's when I was training alongside you every day, and you were a huge help to me, man. You were absolutely brilliant. We had Frank Endicott as our coach. Your thoughts on Frank as a coach? Because, he was one of 3 coaches you had. We heard about John Mooney. Talk to me about Frank.
Yeah, no, Frank was completely different kettle of fish because Frank was from New Zealand. He really didn't have experience over the seas, but Frank was a coach, was a real team man, and loved the players, loved his guys in the team, and he got along with a lot of the lads. To me, I thought it was great having a New Zealander, coaching a New Zealand side, from here in the NRL.
Yeah, he had a year and a half, 97, 98, half of 97, 98, and I was there with you, and I didn't get a chance to play first grade, but I remember being upstairs in the room after we lost yet another game, and Frank was dressing the team down, and then you stood up in the back of the room and you said, "Frank, you know what, I had enough of this. You give me my jersey this weekend and I'll show you what to do out there, boys." And then you go straight away, "All right, Chief, you got a jersey for this weekend." And I was sitting in the back room going, "Oh, I wish I could have said that." All I want to do was play a game of first grade as well. There's a lot of us in the under-19 team that made it to grand final. I was going, "Chief, you're the man." Do you remember that moment?
Oh, but I done some ridiculous things back then, mate. But it was not just that time too. It's same, I think Mark Graham too. I think we were going through a losing streak, and I stood up and said, "Mate, I don't know what's the right time or what, but all the boys were quiet, and I said, "Mate, it's not time to be quiet. We've got to stand up." Pardon me, but but it wasn't time to be quiet. But we've got to stand up, be fair dinkum what we're doing for our next game, because we've got to win that one to get back on board and get back in that happy feeling around our gym, because it's not really a good feeling when we do lose back in the gym back in those days. Well, it was hard at the time too, I suppose, as a coach, when things are not going right, and especially there's a lot of pressure in the first 5 years of the club being involved in the Australian competition.
So Mark Graham, what was it like having a legend like that as your coach?
It was amazing, man. Mark was guys who I used to watch when he played for the North Sydney Bears, and then when he played for the Kiwi, when he put the Kiwi jersey on, so admired, and I looked up to them. They're sort of guys that we watched, and to be part of the team where he was coaching, it's just fantastic. Lovely bloke as well. My
debut in 1999 was against the Roosters. My idol Brad Fittler was there as well. I actually got into a bit of an altercation with him because of a situation with him and Ali Lauatiti. But do you remember what happened? Because the funny thing about it is I threw the punches, but you're the one who got 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Yeah, but that time I think I had a black mark on my name. And it's having the same haircut as yours as well. I think we both got cited. But yeah, no, it was just amazing that I got sent off. I couldn't believe it. I said, "Man, I only came on trying to stop it. Don't know what really happened." But what it was, I think it was when Ali, came in for a shot or something, and then I think you came in trying to stop it as well, and yeah, that's why I couldn't believe when I got sent off. But that was what it was. What it was.
Monday Night Football, SFS, a debut for a young guy. I mean, that was huge for me, and made easier with people like yourself out there. But I do apologise, Chief, for you getting sent off. Mistaken identity, perhaps. I had a bit more hair back then too.
Yeah, you know what you did.
Now, Chief, I knew you were a sore loser. You didn't like to lose, very competitive. But this was illustrated one night when we lost overseas. I won't say who the ref was or the game we lost, but I went in after that to have a few beers out, and I came back and you were still carrying on about the same bloke in your room having some beers, and you were very vocal. You really cared about it. And the referees, they didn't do us much favours, did they? Still to this day.
Absolutely, Monty. As players, we get trained, like real hard, and we get put for the grind, to compete against the Australian lads, because we know they're the best in the world and we're playing in the best competition in the world. I used to hate losing because I know we train so hard to compete, and then having referee, a guy in the middle doing calls like that, and then sometimes when I put a hit on somebody, it's just basically, when I get up, I just look at the referee. I said, mate, that should be. But no, that's what it was like really back then, and with the look of the way the games are still going, nothing really much has changed. If anything's gone worse.
Kicking. Now, it's not something that the Island boys normally do. They've got X factor, they've got ability, running wise, and flair, but not chip and chase, man. Now, I noticed a number of chip and chases throughout your career. Now, in my time, you had to have a license to do that. Talk to me about that. I mean, were you allowed to do this?
He wasn't given the license to do it, but if you know if it's going to come off, the coach won't have so much to say to you at half-time or at full-time. But most of the time when I did do it, the try comes out of it, or we regain the ball, or we get another set of 6 out of it. But it was a matter of skills and execution of the play that you've got to do, knowing that you will regather it. You don't want to be a robot and just play like a robot where you just take the ball in. Well, we're set with skills that we learn as we get older, and those are the skill base that I knew I had. I had speed behind me. I know if I can chip, I can regain it, and then that's for a lot of kids out there. If you practice it, you always practice it, and then when you play a game and you do it, and always have the confidence to do it. And then the coach won't say much. Anything, he'll probably give you a good pat on the back and a beer afterwards.
Well, I never had confidence for chip and chase. I think Jerry Sergio has been watching you, because he tried to pull that off a few times. Your last game at the club, 2000. What do you remember of that last game, and just sort of finishing off with your mate Terry?
It was just awesome, Mont. And the great thing about it too, I didn't want to lose in the sense of to leave the club. I wanted to leave on a note where we won. I know our open game, we never won that. So I said, well, we're not going to lose against the Eagles. And we had a great team. We all performed well. We went to the plan of our coach at the time, and we all did really well. And my mate, and our mate Terry, the Rock, he was a fantastic prop, and even for the New Zealand Rugby League side, he was one of our top props in the game. And he was one of the hard men of rugby league as well.
You signed in 2000 with Mark Graham. I thought it was a 1-year deal. It was actually a 2-year deal.
2 years.
So you could have been a part of the 2001 with Kevin Campion underneath Daniel Anderson,
absolutely.
With Tony Kemp. Do you ever look back on that and think, what if I did?
See, I didn't know Campion was signed for the club either. And I said to myself, mate, I should have stayed, because I loved Campion even when he was playing for the Broncos back in the.
Yeah.
He was a lovely guy, and I'm going, shit, I should have stayed on with the boys. But then I saw the way you guys were playing, and I said, mate, you guys were fantastic. You guys were playing well. You're playing above your bloody weight. I was just so proud of you guys, because I seen you guys come through and said the way Jerry was going, Wairangi, basically all of you. I was just so wrapped, and then having the Australian lads here as well, what they were doing. I was so proud of our club.
Just on that, Chief, you took a lot of people under your wing. I was one of them. Who did you enjoy coming through and watching in the next couple of years, those early 2000s?
Oh, mate, just like yourself. You were tough, you were staunch, Monty, and you had the mentality on it, and I loved that. Same with Wairangi. Henry Fafili, like a lot of you. Same with Jerry. Jerry's asked me a lot of questions, mate. I didn't mind, I said, Jerry, this is how it is. Especially Jesse being a prop, and especially in a prop in the NRL, mate. That's a tough. You're the first one to tap the ball. Here you go, mate. Go up there. 3 guys ready to bash you. Same with Ali. And I know Ali back then did a lot to trade down. But having him sign up because I was in the gym, and then Ackers came and approached me to come and help sign Ali, because I think Ali's father was there as well, and I went in and had a talk to Ali's dad and Ali at the time, and it was good to have him in the club too. A few of us older lads were leaving, but it was mostly you guys coming through. By that time, you guys have been under a lot of us in 3 years, and I thought, well, mate, the boys can do it. You guys can stand up now, know what it's all about, and have a go, which you guys did.
Little men in the middle of the field that you paved the way for. You were the first prototype, Jazz Tavanga. What do you like about Jazz?
Just his toughness, and it's great, for a guy his size and what he's doing, and just like I've never seen another player play like the way what I was like, and he's competitor, and he's fair dinkum about the team, and it's good some of the lads follow what Jazz's example is, which is great to see when the game's on as well, and just stay in the battle and stay in the arm wrestle, which is fantastic.
Chief, your family was wonderful. Tuimavave name gave great service to Auckland Rugby League and everyone else. After you first, Ivan Tuimavave played 105 games for the club. He is your nephew. How proud were you to see him playing, and what were your memories of him coming through the grades and then actually playing first grade?
Oh man, it was great, and I was so proud of him. I was so proud of what he's achieved, same with young Carlos, what those lads achieved, and especially when Mum was still around before Mum passed on, and I was so proud of my nephews and what they have achieved in their own rights in the game, and they knew the dedication that they have to have and have the discipline to train and do the exercise, do the drills. You've got to give up that time from going parties, and you've got to sacrifice a lot in the position of being a professional and wanting something that you're passionate about. And I think that's what my nephews did, and I was so proud of them and what they've done and achieved in the game, and I'm sure all my family were too at the time.
How do you want to be remembered as your legacy or your time in the jumper?
I'm so honoured at the time when we started, I would just didn't really want to let anything ruin what we achieved in the first year. I was so proud of being part of the club, being part of the starting lineup, and just representing our people of Samoa and our people here in Aotearoa at the time, and the rugby league people in general. I was just so thankful for the opportunity I was given at that night in '95 to come through that tunnel as part of somebody who's grown up through rugby league in this country, and to be part of this fantastic team that night. It was just a so proud moment for me and my family that night.
Chief, once a warrior, always a warrior. You are one of the absolute fierce warriors of them all, man. We thank you for your service in that jumper.
No, thank you very much for having us, Monty, and thank you very much for the time. Thank you.
I'm Monty Beetham. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next week for another episode of Once a Warrior.
Execution. Tuimavave to back himself to the corner. Tuimavave.
Too much power there. Great try.
Oh, big defence there by Tony Tuimavave.
Punishing snap. Tony Tuimavave grabs a double. Inside Tuimavave just charges on. Kicking to Tuimavave. Who's got it? He has become a try-scoring freak. Tuimavave.